Hello and welcome to My Two Cents, the show where I give my 2 cents about various topics. Today's topic, what to do with Xenoverse 2. Other than making it playable. Despite great sales, Dragon Ball Xenoverse has been panned as basically the middle ground of Dragon Ball games. Lots of bad features holding it back, but some great story moments and plenty of unique features to keep at least the first playthrough feeling like a fresh experience. Overall, Dragon Ball Xenoverse feels like a fun game to play when you're bored, but trying to beat the entire game with all achievements would just be hell on earth. Completionists, consider it a challenge. However, when I was halfway through writing the script thinking it was kind of a cool idea, the trailer dropped for Xenoverse 2. Not even kidding, I was literally halfway through drafting this when the trailer dropped the next day. And after watching it, I am hyped. The game looks polished and great. We didn't see much gameplay, but if they put at least half as much time into that as the graphics, we're good. However, what other things could make the game great? I can think of at least 10. Now on to number 10! Multiple saves and faster hub world movement. I cropped these together because they don't really seem like much to ask. The faster hub world movement will allow the game to not drag on as much, and it's simple, but it will make a world of difference. As for the saves, this is just a personal preference of mine. Xenoverse has a damn good story for the most part, so just give us an easy way to replay it, if we want to try again with a new coat of paint. Number 9. More stages and more destructibility. While the stages present in Xenoverse were nice, there were simply not enough of them to keep it from getting, boring. Backgrounds are important because they make the world feel alive, and having recycled backgrounds for missions just make it feel less lively. The Dragon Ball universe is vast and creative, so have fun with it. Speaking of things that keep the world alive, more destructibility would also be a nice touch to keep the world moving. The destructibility in Xenoverse was limited, but when it did show up, it made the world of difference. So let's really go all out in the sequel. Hell, an ultimate attack or two that just completely destroys the arena? That won't go unappreciated. Number 8. More battle alterations. This is more about the types of fights that happen. During the story, 9 times out of 10, we're fighting a boss. Whether it be Frieza, Cell, Vegeta, or Boo, it's just one guy, and maybe you'll have a couple of guys on your team. And yeah, while this is fun, we fought so many bosses, one after another. Yeah, we had some minion battles once in every arc, but it wasn't enough to keep the game from feeling like one big boss rush. Switch it up more. Number 7. Interactive protagonist. You know what would make the character feel more like our own? If it did. Like literally anything. Talking, moving, showing emotions. This one's pretty self-explanatory, so I won't go into it that much, but come on, it's pretty obvious why this should be a thing. Number 6. More combat customization. While appearance and supers are okay, if you really want to make it feel like we have true customization control, this would be a good idea. First off, customizable throws. Like taking Vegeta or Goku's iconic throws and making it your character's own. However, if you really want to make it crazy, how about a class-based system? I was thinking Bruiser, Speed, and Targeter. When you make your character, you choose one of these classes. Bruisers are bulky, slow, and hit hard. Speeders are fast, but weak. And Targeters hit vulnerable areas on targets and do slightly more damage the more hits they land in a row. Do a whole circle-based system where Bruisers trump Speed, Speed trumps Targeters, and Targeters trump Bruisers. A system like this would be unique and open a lot of opportunity for replay value, as well as making the character feel like your own. It's low on the list than I think it should be because it would be kinda hard to implement this late. However, it would really make the game. Number 5. a better story. Not that Xenoverse had a bad story, it's just we'd seen most of it before. Towa, Mera, and Derigo were the biggest changes, but they weren't the greatest villains. The only areas that really stood out to me was switching bodies with Ginyu, evil Mr. Satan, and the guard stuff. Yeah, the Battle of God stuff was great, but that's only because we haven't really seen him before in a video game. Switching bodies with Ginyu and Mr. Satan were clearly highlights. That's because they completely took the canon and ran with it. The main problem was we kept going back to points where the story was the same, rather than fighting Grade 8 Nappa or the crazy things presented in cutscenes like that. Instead of going back far enough to just fix history, how about for Xenoverse 2, let's deal with some really wacky situations with characters we love. Number 4. Random drops. Not going to say much about this because everyone who's played past the main story of Xenoverse knows what the problem is with these. In Xenoverse, you must trigger an event to cause a drop, and this could be a random item from a list of possible drops for that mission. That's fine, that's how many games of this type handle this. However, there is also a random chance that the event needed to trigger the event will do the trigger. This causes grinding for particular items to become a painful experience, and seems to only be included as part of the game to serve as padding rather than a real feature. Also, quick note, the system for getting Dragon Balls. Change it. Don't care to what, just change it. Also, the rewards, just get better rewards, okay? Number 3. More character options. If you really want us to feel like we're making our own DBZ characters, give us a ton more variety. More clothing options, hairstyles, expressions, possibly even sculptable faces and body types if you want to go to the extreme. But the thing we need most is more races and transformations. I get Saiyan is easier because it's just a herring recolor, but I think we'd all prefer to get taken to a second character customization screen rather than freeze erase and margins being stuck in one form, okay? Let us completely design another form for our character to turn into, okay? And races, well, just have more races, it's a no-brainer. Androids and demons would be my suggestion. Number 2. Better combat. Square, 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 triangle, triangle, 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 and maybe an ultimate if you really want to get crazy. Combat in Xenoverse is the most tedious thing, and while yeah, this might come under customizable combat from earlier, this is more about making the game just overall playable. How Super Saiyans work and Super Armor need to go. They ruin the game. Make combat just on a base level, working. Not in anyone's favor, and actually challenging when you want it to be challenging. A third story element. While this doesn't seem like the obvious, most important addition to the game, hear me out. Xenoverse had 2 main story modes, story and parallel quests, and these got old. Really, really fast. You either breezed through the story, or played so many painful parallel quests it began to feel like a chore. A third mode will help things switch it up. Maybe a villain campaign, or something with the other characters, rather than just with the custom character. This kind of mode doesn't seem like it would be too important, but it would really break up the monotonous grind of the game, especially if it carries on past the main story, because when you're done with that, you're just left with parallel quests. Dragon Ball Xenoverse was a fun little trope into the Dragon Ball universe, and had potential ringing out of its ass. The trailer for the sequel looks like a ton of fun, and I'm hoping it breaks the mold, rather than sticking to what's wrong with its predecessor. My name is Glasgow101, and that's my 2 cents on how to fix Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2. Bye-bye!